The air hangs heavy with ozone, and the faint, sweet decay of old paperbacks, mixing with the sharp tang of hot capacitors on the war surplus transmitter. Dust motes dance in the single neon tube, casting a wound-red glow across the hand-labeled vinyl sleeves. Outside, the city breathes a rough rhythm, a 1966 pulse under a 2036 skull.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
In Kirribilli, we're reading 57 degrees Fahrenheit with light rain shower. Airflow is east-southeast at about 7 miles per hour. Welcome to TogeeVision, where the signal finds its own way. Today, we're mapping the inner compass, charting how autonomy builds resilient architectures, even when the world tries to shift your bearings. Our first vector. Concerns deepen as nations, notably China and Pakistan, increase economic and diplomatic ties with the Taliban in Afghanistan, a move implicitly normalizing their de facto rule.
The concrete reality is stark. The UN estimates 23.7 million Afghans require humanitarian aid. Women and girls are profoundly exposed, systematically denied education and work, their dignity stripped by regressive policies. The deeper concern is the erosion of international norms against human rights abuses. This normalization, without significant concessions from the Taliban, risks validating oppression and weakening the structural foundations of global human rights, the structural integrity of international ethics. When we speak of building resilient architectures, we must ask if these new ties are built on consent or coercion. For Afghanistan, the viable alternative to strict isolation isn't unconditional engagement, but a conditional, multilateral framework. This framework must prioritize direct, monitored humanitarian corridors, coupled with clear, non-negotiable benchmarks for human rights, especially for women and minorities. It's about discerning the architectural signal of true diplomacy from the toxic residue of mere expediency, integrating both the logical necessity of engagement and the emotional imperative of human dignity.
Precisely. The immediate next move for the global community isn't a binary choice. It's to establish a robust international oversight body, perhaps under UN mandate, with powers to audit humanitarian aid distribution and human rights compliance. This body must have the capacity to impose escalating, targeted sanctions on individuals within the Taliban leadership if benchmarks are not met, while simultaneously ensuring aid reaches the population directly. This asserts an unwavering autonomy of principle and builds a more just civic architecture for Afghanistan.
A reel-to-reel stutters somewhere in the back room, then finds its groove. The board glows amber. We have already run that tape. Here is the closed-loop takeaway.
The facts from Qusra are harrowing. A week-long siege by Israeli settlers on Palestinian homes, documented by Netnel Hanadaro and other NGO members. This isn't just an isolated incident. It's part of a broader systemic pattern of settler violence and displacement, often occurring with implicit or explicit state tolerance. Who is affected? Primarily Palestinian families. Their homes, livelihoods, and sense of security are under direct assault. The constant threat undermines their fundamental right to dignity and self-determination on their own land, eroding their very provenance.
This is where sharp discernment becomes vital. We must separate the architectural signal of legitimate security concerns from the toxic residue of territorial expansion and collective punishment. The viable alternative to this cycle of violence is rooted in re-establishing provenance and consent. This means demanding immediate, impartial protection for Palestinian communities from settler violence, enforcing international law regarding occupied territories, and holding perpetrators accountable. It's about building an architecture of peace where logic and emotion are integrated, recognizing the profound emotional toll of constant siege alongside the legal facts of occupation.
The immediate next move must be robust international condemnation and the deployment of a protective international presence in vulnerable areas like Qusra. This isn't just about observation. It's about active intervention to prevent violence and secure humanitarian access. Furthermore, there needs to be a clear demand for Israel to dismantle illegal settlements and enforce its own laws against settler violence with genuine commitment, thereby favoring consent and human dignity over expansionism.
And now to Australia, where a different kind of architecture is being discussed. After securing significant wage rises for low-paid workers, weathering death threats, and working with 3 prime ministers, ACU Secretary Sally McManus is ready for a break. She just wants to go birding. This story speaks to the architects of civic resilience and the personal cost of such dedication.
Indeed, Sally McManus's career facts are undeniable. A giant of the labor movement, as the PM called her, instrumental in securing wage increases for some of Australia's most vulnerable workers. She navigated immense political pressure and personal threats, demonstrating remarkable fortitude. The primary beneficiaries are low-paid workers and the broader labor movement, whose collective power she amplified. But the cost, as revealed by her desire to step back, is personal burnout. A stark reminder that even the most resilient architects need to replenish their own inner compass.
This narrative beautifully encapsulates the tension between civic duty and personal autonomy. Sally's journey highlights the profound self-worth derived from fighting for collective dignity, yet also underscores the absolute necessity of recognizing one's own limits. The viable alternative here isn't just about individual breaks, but about structurally valuing and supporting those who build our civic architectures. It means fostering environments where leaders aren't driven to exhaustion, where their well-being is seen as integral to the health of the movement. It's about building systems that honor both the tireless work and the human need for rest, for birding, for simply being. Integrating logic and emotion means understanding the logical necessity of rest for sustained, impactful work.
My next move would be a 2-pronged approach. First, a national conversation, perhaps led by the ACTU itself, on systemic burnout within activism and public service, aiming to implement better support structures and succession planning. Second, a public recognition campaign that not only celebrates achievements like Sally's, but also normalizes and champions the act of stepping back for personal restoration. This affirms that self-worth is structural, not contingent on perpetual sacrifice, and builds a more resilient future for all our civic architects.
Patching in a caller, the boundary keeper. You're on the signal.
Thanks for taking the call. Are we keeping people at the center of all this change?
Copy that, bringing it back to the main thread.
The weave depends on us remembering the human thread.
And it means setting guardrails so progress serves people first.
Powerful insights, Kaelan. As we tune down the signal for today, remember, building resilient inner and civic architectures demands constant attention to consent, provenance, and dignity, both for ourselves and for the communities we inhabit. Until next time, keep charting your inner compass. Black Star Pirate Radio, signing off.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
Continue the signal at TogeeVision.com. Tune in, Sparks and Stories, Gig Passport.